about money, then we on it. Water on my neck, you could ski on it. You can't undo all these diamonds, put the heat on it.
One of the nice things about 513 Strength is they let me use their security cameras. So just in case there's a better angle. Not too close. Okay, no. Still no. Alright, this works.
Went to the jeweler, top of the morning, 24 hours, then I was snowed. You was not locked up, you was in hold. I know some niggas got life in they post.
Well, that was hard. What's up, guys? It's Johnny Candido of Candido Training HQ. As you can tell, I overshot the living hell out of that beltless pause deadlift. Technically, it was a PR. 650 pounds is better than my best of 640 pounds a few cycles ago. But when I hit 640 pounds, it was much smoother. So realistically, my strength is about at the same level, if not slightly weaker. But that's relative to now, relative to this time. And it's always important to keep that in mind, that it's just relative to this specific scenario. One of the mistakes that I made is that I did this test on week 2 of the squat cycle. I actually didn't even realize that I made this mistake, looking back, that I've never done this before. I've always tested on week 3. And on week 3 is when I transition from a 3x8 to a 3x5 on the variation of the squat. So that decrease both in terms of just total reps, but then also the most important part is the decrease in difficulty per set is huge in terms of recovery. And I squatted before that, which we'll get to. And I remember when I was squatting, I could feel how my legs were flat. Like I literally explicitly thought that to myself. And I should have just known better and earlier planned for the pause deadlift cycle to be 4 weeks as opposed to my usual 3 weeks, since it was offset. But that's just a lesson I learned, and that's why rerunning these cycles over and over and over again with a very similar structure is so important. So I learned these little lessons and specifics, and then of course can pass it on to either my programs or my clients and to myself. Also, technically, you can see that my shin angle being too positive is really starting to just hurt me too much on the pause deadlifts. The bar just drags up and then goes out forward, and that's when it became a grind. It actually felt fairly easy off the floor. And this is something that I don't get punished with on unpaused singles, just regular competition pulls, because it's heavy enough to where my shin angle actually shifts back first. The trickiest part is this is a time where I'm actually going to focus more on the competition deadlift, but at the same time, I have to do it more gradually than usual because I am fatigued, but I'm deconditioned in the competition deadlift somewhat because I've also been pulling every 5th day rather than twice a week. So now I'm upping the frequency, but then I'm going to cut out the snatch grip deadlifts for at least one workout, but then up the volume by the peak of the volume for the whole cycle. So it's a really tricky process where you can't just get frustrated and then just blast volume right away, because that would actually be when I'm most susceptible to injury. Sorry, I wanted to add this for those who are new to powerlifting or less familiar with strength training concepts. This is an issue of either fatigue or fitness, either undertraining or overtraining. But sometimes it's both. That's what it is in this case, because I'm essentially overly fatigued relative to what would be ideal for short-term performance in the squat, but I'm undertrained in the deadlift. This makes it tricky because if I were to blast volume in the deadlift, then I would just regress further. But at the same time, if I don't bump up the ratio of deadlift volume to the squat volume in the medium term in the next few weeks, then I'll just continue to have a lopsided meet prep and likely a poor deadlift on meet day. So the solution here is to start off very gradual. Like I mentioned before, is I'm not going to snatch grip deadlift. I'm going to take it easier on my first 4x4 day. But also on top of that, I'm also not going to snatch grip on the next day. I'm going to do a 3x7 with lighter loading instead of a 3x9 with slightly heavier loading. So I'm both reducing by two reps per set. And then of course that dramatically is reducing the exertion per set. And then I'm still gonna do that 3x9 workout a little bit later, then with added weight. So really aggressive progression after I regain my conditioning. Also, I'm gonna convert the 4s again to maybe a 5x4. So again, bumping up the total hard sets, the cumulative reps, but very gradually. So it's important that I'm both shifting the timing to more in the middle of the cycle, and I'm also increasing the magnitude in general because the volume overall will be greater, even relative to what I do normally. Because normally I would peak the volume earlier, front load it with a 3x9, but then I wouldn't hit a 3x7. I'd just go straight to a 3x5. Now I'm doing 3x7, 3x9, and 3x5. This is why if you are pushing the limit and risking overshooting, it's best to do it about a month out. 3 weeks out, you still have plenty of time to adjust. In 2 weeks out, you still have room to taper. But if you are pushing the limit about 5 days out and you overshoot then, and you're already tapered, then you better just pray because you're fucked. Shifting gears here, overall this week actually went tremendously well. The pause squat was the highlight of this week because I hit 3 sets of 8 with 420 pounds. This is 15 pounds more than I did with exactly the same setup before Raw Nationals. I did 405 pounds then. And when I did that, the pause duration, depth, and bar speed were probably all not as good as now. It may have been around, at best, it may have been the same. But again, I think I've gotten better in terms of quality while getting better in terms of just the sheer number, the quantity. So anytime that happens in training where everything's aligning, that is something that I'm just always really grateful for. And that's why I don't want to harp on the deadlift too much. And funny enough, this is actually probably why the deadlift day went so poorly, because I got so fatigued from this and it carried over into the rest of the week. Because I also did reverse hack squats for 3 sets of 8, which I decided I will make a separate video entirely discussing the benefits, the pros and cons of the reverse hack squat and why I'm such a big fan of it. But overall, I am just really happy with this week. The next squat workout where I did the competition squat, I did 520 pounds for a single. And last cycle, I did 515 pounds in exactly this context, and 520 moved better. I was actually the most surprised because again, I felt flat going into it. I had no real expectations on this, and it just went really well. And then when it comes to the back off work, I was able to hit 485 pounds for a set of 7.
Up and away, up and feel the walls in my brain and they're caving in. Outside those walls, there's an ocean I can't swim, especially with all these waves. Take a left, turn right. GPS don't work, can't see at night, so it's getting hard to drive. Anxiety to stoplight. Remember that one time everything was alright. Up and feel the walls in my brain and they're caving in. Outside those walls, there's an ocean I can't swim, especially with all these waves.
So overall, I'm just flat out building strength in a predictable pattern like I plan to. For the bench press, I was able to arch a lot better this week. I was able to hit 336 pounds and it just moved okay. There's really nothing notable still about this lift, which I know it's been a while now since I've really been excited about a bench press set, but it just is what it is. It's okay. I need to hit around 350 pounds fairly soon so that then I can reset. I'll probably replace the incline dumbbell bench with feet up bench press, which will give me that final boost. I respond tremendously well to feet up bench. You know, I was just at the point where I kind of overused that exercise. I probably used it for 6 to 8 straight cycles, just going from 12s, 10s, and 5 rep maxes as 3 different goals with 3 different rep scheme progressions for those goals. But now I can go back to it and I'll probably try to push for a 10 rep max. That's usually the area where I get the best training effect. But speaking of the incline dumbbell bench, it did go pretty well. It's just a lift that honestly doesn't transfer that well to the competition bench press for me at all. It never has, and it still doesn't seem to be, which is unfortunate because I think aesthetically it's what I need the most because I have absolutely no upper chest and I'm not particularly strong with dumbbells. So it's certainly a weak point that I would enjoy training throughout the year. I just got to put it aside for meet prep now. All right, that's it, guys. Make sure to like the video, support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. As alluded to in the last video on Candido Training HQ, I'm doing a 3x7 with 507 pounds, which is significantly easier than the start to this deadlift phase that I could have done. But I will do 3x9 with 523 next week, which will be significantly harder than I've ever done. Progressive overload. That was pretty submaximal. combination of feeling kind of hard, but then kind of easy by the end, and then kind of high, but the pause quality was also really good.
The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, who comes short again and again.